Hey guys, welcome to a Red Line Talk Show. I'm here today with Iliana, and our special guest is Mergim Sina, head coach of Gill St. Bernard's, who's a Hall of Fame. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show,
Glad to be
Mergim.
here. Thanks for having me.
Mergim, you have such an impressive background. I'm excited to talk to you today about your journey and how you began with, I know you played basketball. Walk us through your background a little bit.
So, grew up in Brooklyn, loved basketball, didn't know how good I was going to be, but went to the parks every day pretty much and just loved playing. Got up 8 in the morning, got home at 10 o'clock at night and just watch other kids play. And I wasn't very good, by the way. I started to get better as I grew a little bit older, but I think my transition was probably around the 7th grade to 8th grade where I thought, I thought I could be pretty good, but I didn't know what that means at that age. But so I really loved the sport, and it was something I wanted to pick up.
Now, you were born to Albanian parents.
Yes.
Are you born in this country?
No, I was actually born in Trieste, Italy.
Okay.
In a refugee. It's in a refugee camp. When they were coming over, they had a choice: stay in Italy or go to the United States. And my dad and my mom obviously chose to go to the United States. And so I was born.
What year was this?
It was in 1967.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. And they came to America at that time?
They came to America on that time, yes. So it was 6 months later, born 6 months later, we flew into the United States, and then we've lived here since.
Very nice. You had a remarkable college career at Seton Hall and the University of Rhode Island. How do you tell us a little bit about that journey and how you got started playing basketball? So
again, I started at a younger age. I was kind of like a self-made kind of player. My father worked 2 jobs, so he didn't know anything about basketball. And my mom, unfortunately, first year in the country, passed away in a fire. So I was literally, as soon as, first year in the States. So my sisters were pretty much my mom for a while. So what I love to do, obviously, is play sports, and basketball was one of those things. And that allowed me to kind of, work on it and get better as it went on.
What were some of the biggest lessons you took from, your days of playing basketball?
That it was going to be difficult, and for 2 reasons, right? One, I'm an Albanian kid. Most Albanians played soccer. White.
Yeah.
It's hard, but grew up in Brooklyn. You really had to prove yourself as a player.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to have some very good coaching at a young age. And when I say young age, I started 6th, 7th grade. Actually, played for a team called St. Rosa Lima, which was a Catholic organization, and my background is Muslim, which we didn't care, but not many people were happy with me playing in the league, but we had a coach who really wanted me, he backed me up, and that allowed me to kind of participate in a sport with some organization, and he was one of my great coaches. He passed away recently, but that helped me, and I understood it was going to be a challenge for many reasons. Being a foreign kid coming in, kind of getting connected to the other players and playing in the streets is not easy.
Yeah.
But if you have a little toughness and a little confidence, you could do it.
I want to talk about that because I find it so interesting, the culture, being a white kid, being a foreigner. How was that? Was that tough to break through that culture? Because I know, there's a lot of...
Yes and no. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was better for me to play in the black communities because they respected me as a player. And I remember I was going out to these parks and they were just literally opening their arms to me as a player. Yeah, and they kept me close. They kept me family. And then, I grew up in that surrounding. So for me,
So race did not play a part too much?
No, it helped me in another way because once you break that barrier and they understand that that you could play it a little bit, man, they'll open arms for you. They love a white kid that could play.
Yeah, I mean, I played basketball in high school, so did my sister, my brother, all of us, and we actually learned in the streets as well. And we had this family that took us under their wing and really trained us to skill because people assume, oh, you're tall, you can play basketball. That's not the case at all. There's really truly is a skill set that you have to learn, and you have to keep practicing and making sure you have the proper form in order to be
100%.
Successful. I actually found it a little more difficult to play with some of the leagues just because I just wasn't at that level of having that ability to work with personal coaches and one-on-one. We were an immigrant family. That's costly to have that. So
Sure.
I learned everything I can from the streets.
Yeah, and you have to build a foundation with fundamentals. I think in this sport especially, you have to learn how to pass, dribble, and I always use dribbling as the first skill to learn when you're young because that gives you some confidence and you get to move around a little bit. then the passing becomes part of it. Obviously, shooting that gets there because shooting has to go in stages. Because kids that are young and they're trying to shoot 3-pointers is not going to get there. Fifth grade, fourth grade. So it takes some time with the shooting. But I'm always a true believer, and I've done well coaching kids that have been fundamentally sound and helps you win games.
Now, you set a Portuguese league scoring record with 69 points in a game. What do you remember about that night? Tell us.
It's a funny night because I was getting pretty hot. I was making a lot of threes, and so I think it was like 13 I made, or maybe something 14. But there was still 7 minutes left in the game.
Oh wow!
And I was getting uncomfortable because the guys kept on passing me the ball. They wanted me to keep going, but I was getting to a point like, okay, I'm taking 25 shots or whatever it was. Probably could have been 80, 85. I'll be honest. I remember that day well. But we were beating a team by a lot, so it got to a point, where I had to stop. And I wanted to stop. I didn't want to keep going because it looked like, So it was a good day of
Is that
shooting.
still a record today?
A regular season record, like during regular period of time, yes. I don't know with the overtime. I'm not sure,
okay.
so I haven't really followed back on that. But
very nice. That's amazing.
Having played across Europe and South America, how did the international basketball experience shape you or the perspective of your game?
Well, it was easy to kind of transition because, from a European background, when you go to Europe initially, you kind of know what to expect. Cultures, food, people.
Right.
A lot of Americans that go abroad that play professionally have a hard time initially because they don't understand some of the cultures, and they kind of stay reserved. You know what I mean? In apartments, they don't go see what's out there. I was very good. I could walk into anywhere in any country and kind of get along with people and understand. Like you gotta get to know them to be comfortable where you're playing. So even in South America, it was the same. When I played in Argentina, it was the same thing. And I think people and the coaches and the players kind of saw that, so it was easy for me to make the adjustment.
Was there a difference in I guess based on their cultures and stuff, was there a difference in how you were training in South America versus in Europe versus in America?
That's a great question. So my first year, I went over and I played in Italy in a team called Stefanel, and by the way, Trieste, where I was born.
Oh, wow.
Crazy as it sounds. So I'm out
Full
there.
circle.
Yeah. And it was a Yugoslavian coach at the time because remember, this was 1990. Right. So, and I was in Sarajevo, and this guy was a complete lunatic. But his name was Tanovic. He's actually a Hall of Fame coach in Europe right now. I mean, retired, and I didn't understand it because, so we practiced twice a day, right? And this guy was 3 hours of skill work. First practice, go home, I'm drenched. Good work, I liked it. Second practice, I'm thinking I'm going to go play up and down. Skill work again.
Oh, wow.
But he was disciplinary, but he was tough, hard. But I love playing for coaches like that. And then I saw something there, and I said to people when I got back to the United States, I go, there's going to be a time, I don't know how long, a decade, 12 years from now, these players are going to get better than our players here in the States. And it's the truth. Yeah. Because they worked differently. They worked on their fundamentals. They really concentrated on that stuff. The kids today don't do as much.
Do you see that change now when you watch the Olympics nowadays?
Well, yeah, when you go look at Doncic, look at Jokic, look at these guys that have come from Europe. Now the NBA is like 40%, maybe 45% Europeans now. Before it was maybe 2%. Wow. So that jump is happening. And even in college, if you look at it, a lot of these elite college teams have 3 or 4 international players on their team, so it's really changing.
Since joining Gill St. Bernard's in 2003, you've completely transformed the program. What was your vision when you first took over?
Well, again, funny story, because timing is crazy. I was working at a place called Hoop Heaven, just training little kids, nothing. I just finished playing. Yeah. What do I want to do with my life? I played 14 years, but I love basketball, and I was training, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and I get a phone call, and Gill St. Bernard School in New Jersey. I'm from Brooklyn. I go, I didn't know. I didn't hear the school. I didn't know where it was. To be a girls' coach. I go, ooh, I had no problem being a girls' coach, but I was never a coach. So I took a shot and went up there, and it changed pretty much my life. I took a job, the program, I don't know how many schools in New Jersey, maybe 380 girls programs. They were like 379 ranked. They weren't, the culture wasn't there. They didn't, they couldn't build anything there, and they didn't understand, I don't think at the time, that sports could really elevate the school. Yeah. So I took the position the first 2 years, got kind of beat up a little bit. But then I brought a couple of kids, and it really changed the program. It became a powerhouse for the girls for the next 4 years. And then I jumped over to the boys.
And what are some of the differences or challenges that you face when coaching girls teams versus boys teams? Are there any differences?
Well, so when I took the job with the girls, I wasn't sure because I was a pretty intense coach, but in a good way. I like to push my players, but I needed a balance. My wife was the balance. She was my assistant. So when there's some rough times, and I just remember one situation when I was getting a little loud and I was on the board, and one of the girls were like, you could hear, like almost like sniffling and crying. I looked, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, and I go, "Oh, goodness, could you go talk to her, please? It's okay, But at the end of those 2 years, I had a bigger enjoyment with those two girls. That two years with those girls, because no one ever pushed them. So for them,
you actually made an impact in their life.
They said that
more
at the
than
end.
Just basketball.
They said at the end, they go, "Coach, you know what?" He said, "You cared." And that's that was important for them. So.
I think just sports in general is just amazing. It's something great to introduce to your children. It teaches you life skills.
100%. Keeps
discipline,
you off the streets.
keeps you off the streets.
Yeah.
Discipline.
Skill set.
Yeah, respect, timing,
teamwork,
management. Yeah, all the stuff is included. I believe in that. And it's
all life essential that you need.
100%. 100%.
Also, leader as well.
Yes.
If you're
there's so many things you can throw at this.
Tell us, what's the key to building a championship caliber team year after year?
Again, it starts with the culture, how you want to, how a coach wants his team to look. How do I want my team to look, right? I want kids that are dedicated, that want to be in the gym. I want kids that want to be coached. And again, being coached hard doesn't mean you're being very aggressive and nasty to kids. But the challenge for kids to go to the next level, if they want to go to college from high school, is they're going to have to understand that they're going to be held accountable. It's going to be more business at the next level. You got to be prepared. So the biggest thing I think I've done with my program is allowed the kids to understand that, because of what I've been through. I kind of gave them all the information. Now use it, take it. And 98% of my kids that ended up going to college ended up even starting or playing a considerable amount of minutes on their teams.
Very nice.
And so
as freshmen?
As freshmen. All of them. I mean, there's only maybe a couple that had to wait a little bit, but had to wait a little bit. But yeah, they were ready.
So winning titles is one thing, but developing young talent is completely a whole other experience.
It's more important. It really is. It's more important to me. Yeah. Because at the end, and not that every kid's going to go play in college, right? But have a great experience in high school. And if you don't want to play in college, that's fine with me, Coach Sina. But if you want to play at that next level, I like to see the kids playing on TV. I like the story. That's my.
Is that the rewarding part of your
that's
job?
It. There's nothing else there. I'm not looking to, you don't make money off the kids. Maybe these days it's different with the NIL stuff, but no. I mean,
Coach, were there any Albanian athletes or figures that inspired you when you were growing up?
So the person I idolized, because he was the only one I kind of, like while I was growing up, knew could really play, was my cousin Tommy. He passed away about 6-7 years ago, and he was like really, really good. Like Chris Mullen, if people know who he was.
Yes, I remember.
He played with Chris Mullen, and I watched him in a park. I watched my cousin, and he was one of the best, like 8th graders, 9th grade in the country, never mind the state. And I would have to, use him as an example, because I didn't know of any Albanians that were playing basketball at the time. And he was one of them that I really respected and wanted to follow.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your family's journey and how your heritage has shaped you as a player and as a coach?
Well, yeah. When my father came here, we had 7 kids, So and
that's a big family.
Yeah. When I tell you my mom passed away.
That's a team right there.
A team right there, And when my mom passed away, it was, I was young. I was a baby, so I didn't know. But as you're growing older and you see my sisters at 12 years old, 13 years old, they were kind of considered my mom at the time. So for me, it was like you had to make it, you know what I mean? And my father worked a lot, 2 jobs. He really provided for the family. So that toughens you up a little bit,
Right.
and it makes you think like, okay, well, there's 2 avenues to go to here. You could be a nobody and kind of get caught up in the bad things of life, or get some education and build yourself. And I'll be honest with you, a quick story. I went to Bishop Ford High School, which is right near here. I went to a public school before that, and I was a very good student in the 7th grade. And in the 8th grade, kind of hung out with some bad kids. If you want to call them. I was a kid, and I it became almost a truancy situation where I couldn't, the grades started to drop. My father didn't know because, he worked 2 jobs. He didn't And Bishop Ford gave me an opportunity to go there, and I pretty much went to the coach as a coach. And my
So your
grades
life could have been completely
if
different.
I didn't go to Bishop Ford, it would have been a completely different thing.
Wow.
And I got a chance to get out of the craziness, and but yeah, that teaches you life lessons, and it really built me as a.
See that also, like the public school system here, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they don't have sports that the kids can join for after school program, and unfortunately, we lose a lot of children at that age group by choosing the wrong path.
Sure.
I just wish education is a whole other conversation in its own, but just taking away these programs or just not making them available to children really can impact their life for the negative.
Yeah, no, sports could get you really, and whether you play at a high level or not, it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of just being part of a team, and we talked all about the things that are beneficial about playing a sport.
I want to get your opinion on the Albanian talent, Albanian Kosovo basketball talent. Is there any? Have you seen any?
So I was partially an assistant with the Kosovo national team. I don't know if I didn't put that there. So my son played for the national team for a little bit.
Okay.
Interesting. In a way, so I'd say, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but it's a little bit of some arrogance on some of the players there because they just thought they were
the local players.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they thought they was a lot better than and I
probably because they're better than the average.
Well, and they're just very a little stubborn.
Yeah.
And I try to coach it their way, and I don't think they liked the push.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to explain like, hey, okay, great, you play in Kosovo, but have you ever seen Serbia play? Have you ever seen Italy play, Spain play? And I played in those countries, and I think a lot of them thought they could get there quickly, and not the case. So it took a little time to understand that. It's getting better, but again, I think it's important for the coach. There have to be coaches there to kind of.
So you coached in?
I was an assistant.
Assistant? Okay.
I was an assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was a short-term assistant position, but I mean. You try, you know what I mean? But you have to, again, start from the beginning. So the younger group needs to kind of get someone that's kind of, the foundation built. So I think we'll get better.
So in your view, you haven't really seen any
improvement?
Yeah.
I see some, but again, I don't know if they put the effort into it because it's still kind of soccer is soccer, you know what I mean? And basketball becomes,
second.
But they're getting better. I'm finding out there's more Albanians playing, so you find that out through whatever a coach and hey, I had an Albanian kid. And I'm like, really, So I think there's more coming out that are going to that are playing the sport, and I hope so. I mean, it's important. I mean, I think it'd be a good thing. Yeah.
As an Albanian American coach, do you see yourself as a role model for young Albanian athletes trying to make it in basketball?
I mean, if their goal is to coach and if their goal is to play a sport, I've had the greatest experience of my life doing this. I'm lucky to do something I love, and if a kid has an opportunity to do that and really puts the work in and enjoys it, I think it's something that, I think every kid should look, whether it's basketball, soccer, whatever it is, but I think it's a good opportunity for them.
So you opened up Sina's Hoop Academy. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to open up that academy?
So again, I started with one client. I was at a school, and I was individually working some private instruction with a young lady, and so after about a month or two, the mom's like, "Hey, why don't you do some camps here and whatever?" I go, "All right, I don't know." She's at a school, a private school, and I go, "Okay." And so once I did that, I ended up like 5 kids the first time, nothing, But then by the next summer, it ended up being 30 kids. And then the next summer, it ended up being 60 kids. So by the end of the 3 years, I said, you know what, I'll open up an academy and see how it goes. And I did that. And then camps started coming in and teams. And my son's involved in it now. He's with me. So right now, we've got like 16 AAU teams. Me and him coach them all. I coach like 15 games a weekend. And it's just us hands-on. It's not like a third, fourth, fifth person coming in. So
how many kids do you have in the camp?
So, it depends. So I have 5 weeks of camp. So it's, in my whole academy, it's thousands of kids. That's come through. So yeah,
that's amazing. Are there any Albanian kids in the camp?
We have we do have a few that come in. It's the funniest thing because it's a different thing. Because when you're Albanian and kids, kids could be sometimes
they expect different treatment.
It's okay, but I've had a few in the area that come in, but not many because we're up in Gladstone, New Jersey, so it's not a
big population
for
there.
Albanians, but But yeah, a couple have come through.
Would you open up a camp in different locations if there's a huge need?
So I've done that. I was opened up one in Montville, New Jersey. I've opened up one in like I said, in Somerset County, and I opened one in Summit, New Jersey. I've kind of gotten away from that. It's just a lot.
It's a lot to travel also for yourself.
And I'm always hands-on, so I don't like to do something and then have a third party do it. Because for me, then it's not genuine.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
So you've achieved so much in your career. Do you have any plans to give back to the Albanian basketball community, whether through camps, coaching, or mentorship?
Yeah, like even the Kosovo thing, I wanted to give back a little bit, and I still talk to people there. Try to give them ideas about how to improve certain things. We talk to my wife all the time. That's why when the basketball tournament you guys put together, I was amazed when I got there. It was all these Albanians playing, and I knew some of them actually. And one of them, I can't remember, he actually was going to go play for the Kosovo national team, my son, but he got on a plane. It was one of the better players. I can't remember his name. Yeah, he played this, and he went back home. He didn't want to be there. He did 24 hours. He went back home because I don't like it here. And that was
okay.
So. But no, I think it's important. Because listen, it opens up a new door.
There's actually some feedback from the young children who watched their fathers or their brothers that were playing. They were like, "We want one." So now, hopefully, they'll open up another one 100%. That will have more geared towards the younger generation.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's important.
Speaking of the younger generation, you have a son and a daughter, and they also played Division I basketball. And they both won Rookie of the Year as well as freshmen. Can you tell us about basically just like what lessons you have taught them from when they were younger and how that helped shape them of who they are today?
So more for my son initially because my daughter caught up afterwards, but coaching is I coached him. So the only thing I said to him was, Bob, I go, listen to me. The only way I could play you have to prove that you're either the best player on the court or one of the best players on the court. And if you don't do that, it just makes me look really bad. I wouldn't do it anyway. But so he learned that lesson early. So he just strived to be the best, and he was a very good player.
And then nobody could say anything.
No one could say anything, and that's okay. It makes made my and I wouldn't have done it anyway. I wouldn't have played him because it was my son. I don't think that's the right thing. But no matter what, you'll get that response if it doesn't if they don't think it's the right thing. But and both of them and my daughter watched my son. So she understood what his path was going through, even though she was a couple of years younger. They just realized that dedication, discipline, and really wanted to do it, not me pushing them. I really didn't push my kids to do it because at the end they have to want to do it, especially this sport. They just, they put a lot of work into it. The movies and the beaches didn't come often for them, not by my choice, by their choice.
Right.
They wanted to be in a gym. They wanted to get better. They wanted to travel, play in these tournaments. And look, it's a sport that you really have to play consistently to be good. You can't pick it up once a week, twice a week. It's not one of those sports. This one, if you want to be good at it, you got to really put the time in.
There's probably been many moments that you're super proud of both of your children, but what's one of the moments that truly stands out to you?
I said this earlier to my daughter. When I first watched her play against a team that was 6'3" girls at Akron, Ohio. They went to the NCAA tournament. It was our first NCAA game, and I sat next to my wife, and I was nervous because as a coach, you're a coach, but now I'm a dad. And I looked on the court, I go.
And your daughter wasn't that tall.
No. I look at my wife, I go, oh boy, this could be rough. You get nervous.
Yeah.
And then rebound goes, and a couple of rebounds. She's in there fighting for rebounds, and like I mentioned, in the 6 rebounds at half, I look at my wife, I go, she's going to be fine. And that was it. I was proud of her because she really fought the odds. My son had a little different path because we had an AAU team it's my first team I coached, and they were really good. There were kids that played from the 6th grade all the way through high school together.
Oh, wow.
And they ended up being nationally ranked in a high school like Gill. I mean, they were, and you wouldn't look at them like you think, but they were beating NBA prospects by 30.
Wow.
We would go to national events and they would win them, and they were just a good group of kids. Big story. No, if anybody watched the movie Hoosiers, I'm telling you right now, this group would have crushed what they did over 8 years. And it's really a true story to a point where I've seen it. It was unreal what these kids did. But yeah, so they both enjoyed playing and had some fun with it.
Very nice. So
exactly.
Coach, you've been inducted into multiple Hall of Fames, won numerous championships, and secured 400 career wins. When you think back at your journey, how satisfied are you currently?
Just I never thought I was going to be a coach. I never did. I mean, I love playing basketball, but I never knew I was going to transition to be a coach. And but it's been a remarkable run. I don't know how much more I got left, but everybody tells me I say 1 more year, and then I'm doing 4 more. So 21 years at it, and just seeing the kids and seeing them go to college, and the greatest thing is you see kids when you start with them, and all of a sudden they're like, 8 years into their jobs in the city, when they came in as 8th graders. So they always come back, which is always a good thing for me to see. And it's just been a pleasure coaching.
Have you had any kids who made it to, what's the highest level they made it to?
So, I mean, most of the kids that I've had have played in high levels in college and had very nice careers. My son was one of them, a kid, Paul Mulcahy, played at Rutgers, who was a starting point guard for 4 years. Zach Martini, a kid who just finished up, played at Princeton, and ended up playing at Rutgers in his graduate year. I had just so many kids that played. I don't want to miss anybody.
Okay.
But those are a few. Denver Anglin, who right now we're trying to get to another school, who's at Rice. But there's so many kids that were played at I consider high level personally.
Right.
Playing college. You get to college if you want to do that, whatever level 1, 2, 3. The NBA, it's so hard.
Yeah, it's very
so
tough.
hard. It's very difficult. And I had a couple that were close. One that still might be close, but he's still in college.
Okay.
Transitioning from high school basketball and then having someone get into a Division I spot. Can you tell us the difference? I know earlier you mentioned, playing the sport versus knowing the business of the sport. Can you explain to us a little bit what that business is, and what are the tools that someone who is aspiring to be in a Division I team,
Right.
what lessons they should know before starting?
Well, before starting, they know it's very rare. I mean, the percentages are really against them to be a Division I athlete. I think it's like 1.5% of all, or maybe even under that.
Really, that low?
Yeah, that could get there. Yeah, because you figure, maybe there's a couple thousand spots all over the country, and how many kids are playing basketball? Maybe,
Right.
So that's one, right? You have to, but dedication is important. You have to dedicate yourself. Again, you might not have the athleticism sometimes, you might not have the height sometimes, or you never have the speed sometimes. But the biggest thing is, I think you could build on your fundamentals. You could get really good at a skill, shooting, passing, whatever it is. Winning is part of that. Be part of a winner, I think, because coaches look at that. But then again, you got to separate yourselves from the rest of the pack. And how do you do that? Well, you really got to put the work in. As I mentioned earlier, it's kids are going 6-7 days a week, not just playing in a high school season maybe, but they're on their own. That's when the real work goes. I could see them for 6 months, but I don't see them the other 6. Mm-hmm. And what are they doing? The ones that want to get there are in the gym. They're working on their body. They continue to work on their skill. So to get there is very hard. Once you get there, well, it becomes easy if you do the things I just said.
Right.
And so that's important, that a kid understands, like, college becomes a different level now. It becomes more of a business, and coaches earn a lot of money and they don't want to lose. And,
right.
It's just what it is. And these kids have to realize, like, they're going into a situation where it's work, real work.
Do you think kids that have talent, that they have a born talent, right, which is very rare to get, and someone who has the skills, which was more important, having talent or having the skill?
I'm a big believer, if a kid works harder, will beat talent any time. I have seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen kids that had less talent but ended up going a lot further because they put the work in. Sometimes a kid that's super talented, and it's unfortunate, thinks he's already there. So the work ethic might not be as strong as a kid that kind of says, hey, I really need to get there. And those are the ones, if you could find, are like, diamonds in a rough, I call them. Those are the ones I want to coach because they'll give you everything. Yeah.
So you respect skill more than talent?
Hard work, skill is included in the talent stuff. But again, don't get me wrong. If you have a talented kid, and I've had talented kids that worked really hard, those are the home runs. Those guys can really, like, get to where they want to go.
If you could help shape the future of basketball, what changes or initiatives would you work on?
Well, I don't know if it is. I think there was an old school philosophy of how to coach kids, and now there's a kind of a new school philosophy where things kind of got a little looser, if I mean that. Like, there's really no accountability held to a lot of these kids that play, So now it's just like, hey, go roll the ball out. And coaches are afraid to coach hard because they feel like they could be disciplined for that, And I think it's a big change. And I don't like the change. I still coach hard. I think it's a better fit.
You know how they say now, like, oh, everyone is a winner and everyone gets a trophy at the end, just for participation. Do you believe in that concept? Because I don't believe in that concept.
The trophy stuff. I believe if you're part of a team, you've already won something. Whether you're the 12th man or the first man. I teach my kids to respect each other, and I really don't have it. I don't coach the 12th man different than I would coach my first man. Like. It's a family. It's a team. So that's the reward you get. If you're looking for things that you don't deserve, well, then how can I tell the 12th player he's better than the first man on my team? It just doesn't work. Yeah. So for me, that philosophy for me is more like I don't buy into that.
I don't buy into it.
If you want to,
yeah.
If you want to get to a point where level that you want to play at higher than you are.
So Coach, let me ask you. We haven't had any Albanian players in the NBA. Right, that you know of?
No, I don't think any Albanians.
You were the closest.
I think you became you were the closest one.
I was probably the closest. There was one other player in Europe that might have had a chance. I just can't remember his name, but didn't. I don't know if he ever went to a camp or really got a situation where he was like right there.
So tell us that story a little bit. Because that's interesting.
It was early in my career, and Brendan Malone, who was an assistant coach for the Knicks for a while, recruited me out of high school, and so leaving college, I had a nice career, but not enough to get drafted. I played different positions. I was at Seton Hall for 2 years, and I finished up at the University of Rhode Island. We went to a Sweet 16, and we were a very good team that year. We beat Syracuse, we beat Missouri, who were top 10 teams, and after it was over, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to play. I still wanted to play, but it was hard for me to get into a camp. And I had called a coach who recruited me, Brendan Malone, obviously passed away recently. And I said, Coach, hey, look, is there any way I could get into one of the camps? And he was nice enough to get me invited to a Detroit Pistons camp. So I played a little bit, blah, blah, blah. Nothing happened. But the following summer, I'm about to go to Europe, and it was early in the summer, and I get a phone call, and it's from Coach Malone. He goes, hey, Mergim. He goes, I want you on my team. I was like in shock. I was living in Staten Island at the time, and I go, what do you mean, Coach? He goes, no, you're going to play for me with the Toronto Raptors. So I went completely ballistic, happy. And so that whole summer, I'm like, not that I didn't work hard, but I was playing in these pro-ams and played against NBA guys, and I'm telling you, I was dropping 30, 40 points a game every night against them. Because I don't know if I could have done it anyway, but the extra juice kind of got me.
I think you had some pressure off of you.
Yeah, and I was just like, ready. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, the end of the summer came, and I get a call like, hey, they're not moving on contracts, so they're the players lockout. So I couldn't get in there. So now I had a choice of maybe waiting and things could change, but I needed to go play. It was early in my career, and I didn't want to maybe mess something up. So it took a little time, and I just never got an opportunity to do it. And then he ended up getting fired. So it was a tough thing. However, I still believe in my heart that if I've taken that job, my family would have been different. I just think it would have changed.
You passed up a few opportunities. Yeah. You also were asked to be the Division I basketball coach at Dartmouth as well.
Yes, I had an opportunity.
And you passed that up as well.
Yes, I had an opportunity to be a college coach like 6-7 years ago. I was going to get a really good recommendation. Then I had a real decent shot of getting the job, but I didn't want to change my life. I wanted to coach high school, and I wanted to be around my family. So I think it was a better decision for me.
Would you take that chance now?
To coach at a college level?
Yeah.
Probably not, because again, I think the game's changed a little bit, and the way I coach is I'm a little harder than most coaches, not in demeaning in any way. I don't degrade my players or any way, but I push them, and sometimes I think in today's world it's difficult to coach because everybody is so like, he said something hard.
They don't make them. They don't make them as
plays a bigger role now.
Well, it could be. It could be politics about the people who are above you, whether it's the board of directors, whether it's your headmaster, or whether it's a principal. Yeah. Everybody, because it takes one parent now, maybe to make a complaint, and all of a sudden now you have to defend yourself. I've been doing it for 21 years, and I coach hard, but my kids to this point always understood it, because I could have been fired 55 times at a halftime if I said something, use some foul language, maybe, as most coaches sometimes do. But, it's now you got to tippy-toe it. It's a little difficult.
Why do you think the change of culture like that happened?
Well, I think kids are growing up a little differently. See, when we grew up, it was a time where you had to fight.
You had to be tough.
Yeah, you had to fight through everything, and now it's kind of comes a little easy for some of the kids. I don't know how good.
And that goes back to what we were talking about before. Everyone is a winner. Everyone receives a trophy. And
nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. Not the good things. So
it's not fair. So the person who's putting in the work, 100%. That's working hard.
100%. Yeah.
Coach, I ask this question to all my guests. What do you want your legacy to be?
So I don't want to base it on how many if I made a Hall of Fame or something like that. I just down the road, if people do talk about me, whatever that means, I just want to know that, hey, this guy, put some kids through some good stuff, and they got some good stuff out of it, and they got to play in college, and just kids got to be, to do the things they love and maybe get better at it because they played a sport for me. I don't know if that's going to change their lives, but I do teach them.
Yeah.
Other things, not just basketball. 75% of my talking goes about life more than the basketball stuff, and I think the kids always got that.
I'm sure some of your students, they probably look at you as a father figure as well, and come to you to guidance on life.
It happens a lot, because I tell them, you're 6 months with me, 6 days a week. This is our family here.
Right.
I'm not gonna I don't have any trump card for your parents. I'm not gonna say, hey, I'm better than you. Never do that. I said, but here, if there's a problem, keep it in house. You let the kids know. You let me know. Because parents, if you have a problem, most parents go back, oh my God, he's wrong. Oh my God. The coach doesn't know what he's doing. I want these kids to realize, hold yourselves accountable. Understand, hey, if you do the right things, no one's going to play politics with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I do well. For the most part, it's never perfect, but yeah.
How important is the relationship with the parents as well during this?
I try. I've really, to a fault. See, I'm very open. I like to talk to parents because I am a parent of a player, right? And players, and my daughter as well. So it's very important. It's a great question because they have to understand, you have to be.
Like you're a partner in this, right? With the parents,
right? You have to trust me.
Yeah.
And if you don't trust me, then it won't work.
Right.
And it doesn't work for every parent because no matter what you do, some parents just don't see it. But I try to give them that information. I really do. This is a great one because this is the biggest thing that could be the downfall of these kids playing is that parents just don't let the coaches coach. And I mean, if there's a problem with the coach, listen, there's something different. But if someone's really trying to help your kid, but he goes through some bumps in the road, right? Let him go through the bumps in the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's part of life, and I think
it's going to help build their character as well.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you. We learned so much about your background, and I'm glad that you have an Albanian coach that we can always look to for mentorship, for guidance in the basketball world. Thank you for keeping those camps flowing because I think we should get more Albanian kids into the basketball world.
No, absolutely. I think it's a great thing, and I appreciate you having me here because you don't see this often.
No.
So it's a good thing, and whatever I could do to hopefully make this better, for some kids, then it would be a good thing.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.